Welcome to these sci-fi guys. With me always, as just by the intro you saw, you've got with me is John and Chad. Man, I still like this new music I picked out. It's so cool. And
I agree with that.
yeah, it's the last one was fun, but this one is just like I don't know, it's epic. Kind of like this movie, right?
Yeah.
Not. Yeah, today we are talking about war games. Chad picked this one out for us. It's from 1984. 1980s movie, whatever.
It'd be ironic if it was 1984, not going to lie.
Yeah, I don't think it was 1984. I'd have to look. I mean, maybe while Chad's talking to us, asking questions, I can pull it up. So, Chad, you start with the questions this evening.
83 was the year.
1983. Okay. Yep. You're faster than I was. Yeah, 1983. So let's see. Neither of you two were born yet, and I was in junior high school, I think, when this came out.
Oh,
So you about the same age as David in this movie?
I don't know. I may be the same age as.
He was
No, no, he's a few years older than me. Just a few years older.
could
So
have been his younger brother.
Yeah, I got confused. He kept sending this stuff saying David, David. And I'm like, just say Matthew Broderick. I know who it is. I know who the actor is more than I remember the guy's name. So
I was looking up on. I was using cheat sheet of the characters, right?
yeah, I kind of figured out who we were talking about here.
So look at this. So you get started. The very beginning of this movie, you see two guards rushing in to change out guards. So in that scenario, so they had a action of almost a nuclear launch had to launch a missile. Within all that saying is human error was saying, "Hey, I do not want to kill. I do not want to launch this missile without confirmation. Like, I want another confirmation besides a code that's come from a computer." So, thing is, one of the actors, I forgot, Dr. John Mintz, but it was played by Dabney Coleman. What did y'all think about the character? What he did in the beginning of the movie? Like what? Like he's so I want the human out of it and put the computer in charge of the launching the missiles.
well, the whole movie was based on that.
Yeah.
um, honestly, it kind of reminded me of Crimson Tide. The movie. I don't know if you guys have seen that or not. Basically, it's about a nuclear submarine, and they got orders to basically launch their nukes. And the executive officer said, "No, not without authorization. I need to make sure before I launch these." And then basically, he mutinied and
Yeah.
didn't launch them when he was supposed to. So, and it's kind of like this is here. These guys were supposed to at least go through the process, launch do the keys, and then they found out afterwards, hey, I didn't want to tell the president that only 20% of his missiles would have launched because people didn't turn the key when they were supposed to. Although realistically, that's not the way it was back in the 80s. It was, I mean, there was a Cold War going on still at the end of this, and no, those guys were trained, and they were like, hey, we got it, we got the here's our authorization number, turn the keys, boom, done. And so my question is, when the guy was holding the gun at him at the other guy, obviously he didn't shoot him because you saw him later on in the movie, but if that was his job and he's supposed to shoot the guy, how is he going to reach over there and turn the other key by himself then? I mean, I don't know.
Listen,
Some of that stuff,
it's just a comedy of errors. Like we all know the military wouldn't necessarily operated that way back at any point, or else the military would not really be around very well at this point. I think you're absolutely right, Dave, in terms of like, real life, they would have launched all day and just hit it. But maybe they did run tests like that back in the day. I don't think so, though. I think plenty of times they would have straight up done that. Now, however, the whole pitching the computer taking over, even now, I still see it
movies
At
had
some point,
so.
do what?
I said Terminator and these other, that we know of how AI wants to take over and do everything on its own. And just like last week with robots, hey, you
Yeah.
artificial intelligence is going to rule everything eventually. But uh, at this point, they didn't think about that. They're just like, hey, let's just let the computer do it. You take that human aspect out of it, it'll be faster and you'll never have to worry about it.
And see, I get the logic, but nowadays, even I still think at the end of the day, somebody's got to press the button. You got to have a big red button. Somebody's got to press it, regardless of what made the decision to get there.
Yeah, and you need to have fail safes for, case in point, somebody hacks in, obviously. But I mean, again, we're talking about the 1980s and what they, showed the world what it was like, but it wasn't always. I mean, not everybody had a computer that was hooked up to a telephone modem where they could talk to
No.
each other.
Yeah, no.
And I guarantee you, NORAD did not have an unlisted number out there that they had looking like a company that you could just call up and try to break it. I mean,
No.
yeah.
Nah.
But for the movie aspect, I think what they were trying to do was to take the human element out of it to make they said at the beginning only 20% of the people turn the keys. This way, if an actual attack happened, they would all launch. I think that was his point behind the whole thing, is why he wanted to do it that way.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with it. It is a human aspect. It's always going to be a human here say, I'm not going to do this. They want confirmation. But as we said, you see it in Terminator. You see in robots. I know we haven't seen Terminator yet. And haven't talked about it, but it's should it be coming up soon. So yeah, the AI part. Yeah, let's get into it. So yeah, David or Matthew Broderick was looking for he was really going on as a nonsense hacker. Like, hey, I'm a teen. I want something to do. And as a video games he's trying to get. So that's what.
Yeah.
So
He thought it was a video game. That's all it was. He thought
yeah.
it was, because I remember back when the World Wide Web originally started and everything was bulletin boards, and what you saw there about how he played that game and stuff, the interface and all that, that is really what it looked like. It
Yeah.
really wasn't much more than ASCII2 text space games. Everything was, they ask a question, you give an answer. Okay, which way do you want to go? What do you want to do? I mean, and so there was some graphics, kind of like what they had here, but there was not much, especially over a
No.
modem and all that.
No,
So,
not over modem. Yeah. So so David, Matthew Broderick used a certain type of hacking technique in this. I want to turn it into a little technology little thing here. But do anybody know what it was called? Like,
nope. Tell us. I mean,
so it's
it was
got
a hack.
it was well,
He was trying to do a backdoor. I mean,
but
that's
it
not what
used
it is.
it back door, but it was more looking for a phone number. So it was called ward dialing. So it was just going through. He told a parameter, "Hey, look in these specific prefixes," and the computer just going now dialing. So my answer is to hang up. It's just trying to find a computer, and it will save a list of what he's. That's what most of.
And that is how we got telemarketing that we have today.
Yeah.
Because we have a computer that constantly dials, and then when it gets connected, sometimes it'll send it through to a human person. Otherwise, this is such and such. This is a computer talking to you from this thing. And if you would like to hear this, please press 1.
Yeah. So innocence trying to find a game, and he wanted to start a magazine. So. But other than that, so if you was in Matthew Broderick's shoes when he did all this, he figured out where he was at, what he's done, what would you done?
Gotten out of Dodge at this point. Like the moment I realize someone is clearly following my trail and then I goofed up, I mean, he did try to run away at the one station, but I don't think he tried to run away quick enough in terms of like I would have tried to hide way before then, and forget just throwing stuff away. I would have been running hardcore on a Greyhound somewhere,
Yeah, yeah. Thing is,
especially back then.
Oh yeah,
you
back then, I mean, instead of throwing it out, burn it, burn your paper, your hard copies, format your hard drive. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, of course, that now what we know about computers is that they can say, hey, this is your IP address and this is where we got it from. Which then he wouldn't have, even hackers back then probably wouldn't know all that. They may have, but there's still ways probably. I don't know if he was, they didn't have VPNs and stuff that we have nowadays that we could, mask where we're, hey, no, I'm not dialing in. I'll say dial in because that's what they did. I'm not connected to the internet in Georgia. No, I'm connected in, Timbuktu, or whatever.
no, they didn't have something like that. They had something similar, but it wasn't a VPN or something which you see nowadays. But it was more of a proxy. It was going to server to server to server. It was just a trail of servers, proxy servers. So yeah, I would have just once you saw that the newsreel, hey, somebody did this, caused this. Oh, that was me. Let me get out of Dodge. Just go ahead and just start going. Screw what's in my room because I'm
Or even better yet, then and say, hey, how do we fix this? You know, You got all those other numbers. Call NORAD, call the FBI, call the cops and say,
yeah.
hey, I think that was me on accident. I didn't know. What do we do? And let law enforcement know what's going on. It looks better if you come forward and say, hey, I did this. I didn't know what I was doing. Then, uh-oh.
But it's still back in the even that day, it was still a computer crimes act. It was it doesn't matter if it was harmless. He was actually doing it trying to get gain of something, but not through that site. So yeah. So see where the creator of the computer, the Whopper, had we called this backdoor login with his son's name, Joshua. So did he want this computer to do what he was trying to do at the end? Like just take over and go ahead and launch the start World War III at the time?
No, because he even said that he was early on was trying to teach the computer, or at least the program he was using was trying to teach it how to lose and how to um
No one
yeah, how to
scenario.
lose and how to look at it, of not just wanting to win all the time. I think is kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
I mean, I
I
definitely
can
don't
tell
think
you,
he expected it to go as quote unquote sentient as it did.
yeah. Well, when I was talking about losing, I can tell you this from experience. I was an only child, so I never played games. My parents never did with games and stuff. So when I got engaged, my wife found out that I was a really sore loser. So, which I had to learn over time on how to lose because I never lost when I was a kid. I mean, occasionally I would, my dad would beat me at chess or something, and we'd be like, okay, good game, or whatever. But I'd never learned how to lose. So I'm kind of I can relate to the Whopper. I can, although every time I hear Whopper, I think of Burger King. So every time they said it, I was just like, they should just have a Burger King emblem somewhere. They could have just that would have
BK.
been a great marketing tool, but they didn't do that.
No, they didn't.
Anyway, besides that, sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but still, I kind of understand what the Whopper was like. It was trying to figure out the best way to win the game because it was playing against somebody who said, "Oh, I'll be the Russians," which of course any kid probably would have been the United States.
Yeah.
So, but
Especially after the age of GI Joes, right? Wouldn't that
Mm.
be right around that time?
GI Joe
Yeah.
originally came out in the '60s. That was the big 12-inch characters. When Barbie was out, they were roughly around the
Yeah.
same time. The
The
actual
TV show,
TV show and all that was
Cartoons, 80s.
late 80s.
Yeah.
So right around that time, maybe a little bit after that, where knowing is half the battle.
Yeah. So this is not one of the questions, but did y'all notice anything odd or mistakes in this movie that you saw or somebody said but shown a different thing?
Maybe not specifically what you're talking about, but the entire military might not acting as if they're the greatest military might in the world. Other than that, not
Amen.
specifically.
Yeah,
I don't know
no,
what you're seeking here, Chad, but I don't know
I'm assuming
specifically.
I'm assuming something like he said DEFCON 4 and then the 3 popped up or something, or I don't remember. I didn't see any Easter eggs or any goofs. Of course, I really wasn't watching it. I was watching it for content. So
Well, yeah, this is when Matthew Broderick did this at the beginning to say, I played the Russians, attack Vegas and select the cities, and all of a sudden he sees two bombers coming across the base. Send out the F-16s.
oh yeah. Oh, I meant to. I was going to say that he said send out the F-16s, and the picture and the ships that they were flying up there were F-15s.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were Strike Eagles rather than the Falcons.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was going to mention that later on. I was like, that was. I didn't realize that's what you were asking for.
Yeah,
The
I
blunder.
was just there's plenty out there, but that one,
Yeah, but it goes back to what Chad said. I mean, what John said. It was, if you guys are going to do a military movie, do some research, please. I mean, I was in the Air Force for 20 years, so nothing bugs me more than watching a military movie and it being not accurate at all. I mean, one of my favorite series, one of my favorite TV series of all time is Stargate SG-1, because it was Air Force based, Cheyenne Mountain, just like NORAD was here. But they actually had Air Force consultants to make sure uniforms were right, people knew how to salute, just the little stuff. The weapons they were using were actually ones that the military had on hand or would be able to get or whatever. So things like that really, there was other movies that were military movies that were so bad.
Yeah.
That yeah, we'll leave it at that.
So, a couple more questions, but one of the ones that the last one I said on the extra one, but would you listen to Matthew Broderick how to stop this program after and then you're the general that's said no, I wants to go ahead and strike?
John, I've got my idea, but I've been talking a lot.
For me, listening to him in general, clearly he's making a great effort to even end up back in this base at this point. At some point, I take some credit there for him, because it takes a lot for a kid to come back into a military base after being accused of espionage and still having everybody chasing him. So I think at some point you have to take in the fact that, like, there's no way a spy from a foreign country escapes this base and comes back willingly. And then there's just also the fact that, again, he went through all this trouble. I'd at least give an ear to it. However, with the realism of the situation, I don't think any real general is going to listen to a child anyway. And I also don't think the child would have made it out realistically. But me personally, seeing the effort of the kid with the pressure of the current situation there, probably not. But overall, if I had time to think on it, yes, I'd at least hear him out.
Yeah, I think after the military extinguished all that they could do, they probably would get to the point where they'd be like, okay, any suggestions? Anybody? Bueller? Anybody? Can anybody? Come on, y'all.
Bueller.
So, I mean, that would be
I
mean, honestly, if I was in charge, we would go through our procedures and everything that we could do. The computer guy, talk to even the inventor, and then if he says, hey, listen to the kid, then we would listen to the kid. Or, what I'm saying? Honestly, his whole aspect, the inventor, Chad, what was his name? Do you remember?
Falcon Stephen.
Yeah,
Steven, that's it. It was
Stephen
Steven.
Falcon.
Yeah. Uh, when they were like, "Oh, hey, it's Steven. Okay, he's the one that invented this." With him and Dabney Coleman, really should have just, "Hey guys, all right, come in and said, where you at? What's going on? Blah 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 blah. Get a rundown of it. All right, what do we do? Have you tried this? Tried this? Tried this? Tried this? No, none of this works. And then, okay, I'm out of ideas. All right, anybody got one? And then Matthew Broderick David says, "Hey, he's playing the wrong game. Let's get him to play another game." And then they list games, and then they try it and all that, and then go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. If I was general, no, I wouldn't listen to him without kind of like, hey, you got Steven, you got the Dabney guy right there. Say, hey, I've done all I can do. Let's listen to him. He's the one started it. He might know how to finish. Like he might figure out how to finish it. Because the thing is, they done to do all this to put him into that back door. They done all the research. So
Yeah, then they said they took the back door out too, didn't they?
Yeah, they took the back door and took Joshua's login out. That way, nobody can get in. And which was great. But now you locked yourself, locked everybody out because the computer now is locking everybody out.
Yeah. Or worst case is, all right, so let's go back to Dabney Coleman. All right. So he takes him, he's talking to David up in the room, and then he has to walk out. You're going to leave a kid in there with access to a computer to that right there in front of him. You already know he's a computer guy that could get into it. Hello? Make sure it's either locked or something. Oh, my Alexa behind me went doo-doo because my wake up name is computer for it. So when I said it was like it didn't hear me ask the question, so it was like doo-doo. So.
Yeah, I got a computer behind him. Just sitting
That's why we're these. So unless I say it, it won't. But it's funny. I was watching a TV show yesterday, and they were talking about, and someone mentioned, and then all of a sudden she decided to start talking, because she heard the word, and then they asked a question to it. It was like a Star Trek or something. I don't remember, Babylon 5 or something. When I was watching what it was, and they actually hey, what is this? And then she starts answering. It's pretty funny.
So yeah, I would listen to him, but the thing is, yeah, let them in the room with a computer. That was a bit. That was one of the scenes that I would have took out, like just kind of shortened up, like, hey, talk to him, and all of a sudden get him out. Don't put him in the living room with a computer because what he's done. But I did the theory behind. He found the game and it was not listed, but he said, "Let's try it. Let's play tic tac toe." Trying to play it with them. I said, "Can I play with? Can it be me not doing nothing in it?" Put 0, and it was just constantly going this over and over and over, and it kind of broke it.
Yeah. I mean, I like the aspect of the whole movie itself overall.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was, especially back then, that's the way the world was going to, was computers were going to run the world. Everything was going to be easier. You don't have to have people, make decisions and all that. I mean, and honestly, we're kind of that way right now with these.
Yeah.
We have all the information at our fingertips, and we watch cat videos or or whatever, or
Of course,
or videos or
what it's for.
goofy stuff on. Yeah, exactly. That's what it's for. But no, I've kind of lost where I was going with this. So, Chad, go on with your next thing, or was that the last question you had?
John, have you seen this before?
No, definitely haven't.
Have you, David?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So
I think I saw it in the theater back in '83, also back in the day.
yeah,
And a lot of these, I've seen most of these ones that you guys pick, or that you picked that were from the '80s. I've probably seen, not all of them, but I was pretty big into movies back in the day.
So John? What was your take? Like, what was you take away? Like I said, I would take away one scene, a couple of scenes, but other than that,
I mean, overall, I take the movie as a whole. I mean, it's I can see where modern movies took a lot of influence from movies like this. Maybe not this one specifically, but just the whole idea, the premise, um, the Cold War aspect, and still having military, but you're also focused on kind of this like teen movie along the way, and him trying to play games and getting into this. And um, I definitely see a lot of entertainment value in the movie. I definitely see where they made some simple, silly mistakes and didn't do research, but I'm okay with it because A, it was the 80s when they made it, and B, it's just a good movie overall. And honestly, thinking about it now, um, it honestly reminds me a lot of Stranger Things in a sense, because kids end up involved in military operations, and somehow it's always the children. It's always the children. They find a way. And I think that's the most realistic thing about this movie. And I honestly loved it to death.
I just wish they would have expanded on Steven's background or role a little bit more. Almost having a flashback with
Yeah, that would have been nice. I
Dabney and
agree with that.
Steven when they were younger, and as they're programming and working together and computing, and maybe even having a throwback to the accident, what happened to his son, and then
Mhm.
why he's sitting there in front of the computer saying, "I need to honor him." And here's the login, the backdoor login or whatever. I think they could. I mean, because the movie was only an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not trying to make the movie longer. Believe me, that's one thing I like about some of the older movies is they weren't as long as the newer movies are. Some of these newer ones are 2.5 hours, and the older ones are like an hour and a half to 2 hours. So, but I just think they could have honestly, if his whole his whole portrayal of the whole movie was really an afterthought almost. Oh well, if I get to talk to this guy, then we'll figure out. I mean, honestly, if they could have had Dabney said, hey, it's a game. It was programmed originally as a gaming system. It doesn't know how to lose, and then he could
Mhm.
have figured that out. Either A, take all of Steven completely out of it, or B, let's do a little bit more with him.
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
about the only things I'd change. Otherwise, I thought it was a good movie, even back in, even with all the discrepancies with the military people and saying the wrong plane. It was still an enjoyable movie. It really was. I mean, it does make you think too about, how much computers run our lives,
Yeah. That one of a few. I think Steven should be a little bit more in the movie. Just because he's the one that was co-created and was the one that left the back door in there. So
Mhm.
that interaction with him on the island, he's just I'm totally withdrawn. I researched all this about these dinosaurs, how they came at the end, what will happen when we did this. So that was good, but I would put a little bit more of him and Dabney working a little bit together in it.
Yeah, or at least some interaction instead of
Yeah.
just hi.
Yeah. What's up? You're back. Great.
Yeah, can you fix it? Well, what's wrong with it? And then go from at least have some interaction between them. Even if it's talking jargon or some kind of they're talking basic or they're talking COBOL or whatever the programming language they were using at the day or whatever. Just something even if it's just technobabble, some kind of interaction between the two of them. I just think would have just really elevated the movie, and then have maybe David just well, hey, well, you're saying this. Well, what about this? And just kind of have him throwing something in there, and then they talk about it for a little bit. I don't like movies that talk too much, but just a smidge more just
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
have would have really helped. So, is that
That's
it? Are we done with this?
we're done.
We are done. So we watched War Games this week, and as I don't know if I mentioned it last week or not to everybody, but wait, where's my mouse? There it is. Okay, so we watched War Games this last week. Now this next week, we're gonna go back to the B movies. I know y'all loved What was the movie?
Buckaroo Banzai.
Yeah, Buckaroo Banzai. You guys love that B movie so much. This next one is called Robot Jocks. 2 men, 2 machines, 2 wild. It's if you guys are like me, I mean, I kind of grew up on the whole giant monster, Godzilla, big robots, Voltron. You know, Power Rangers were like way later. So I went to the movies with them because I was babysitting some kids, so I kind of understood the whole concept of that because they had to explain it to me the whole time. But yeah, but still, the whole giant robots. I mean, I was from the I was kind of raised in the 70s and 80s, so I was big into Shogun Warriors. Um, let's see, what do I got? I'm looking at all my models up above in front of me that I've been working on. I got Shogun Warriors over there and Voltron, the 2 Voltrons. Yeah. So anyway, so Robot Jocks is basically, instead of countries fighting each other with all these people and all this, the movie basically is you get these big giant people and they're bred for this. They're like, literally bred and trained all their life to fight in these giant robots. And then they have country versus country. That's basically it. So it's a B movie. I'm hoping you guys will enjoy it. We'll find out next time. Guys, got anything else? Parting thoughts? We gonna just say peace? Be out? All right. Peace. Oh, wait a minute. I did forget something. Yeah, let me put the banner up there real quick.
The ticker. Thank you. I was wondering. I was like, oh, we're just peacing out. Forget the people.
Yeah,
we're
I
just
was
out.
getting ready to peace out, man. So, yeah, you guys can reach us at, you can go to X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at TheseSciFiGuys. You can email us, TheseSciFiGuys at gmail.com, or you can be right here on our YouTube channel, which is These Sci-Fi Guys. So, all right, enough of the ticker. I'll hide that out of the way. And then now we'll say peace out.